I am Chef Daniel Boulud. I'm at Restaurant Daniel here, and I'm celebrating the International Sous-Vide Day, which is something happening all over the world in celebration of this amazing technology who started maybe 50 years ago and who today is certainly in every kitchen, in every chef techniques often. And why do I love sous vide is something I have learned as a young chef, but also have constantly evolved with the application and the creativity around the possibility of sous vide. And today I choose I'm going to show you a dish that is close to my heart. I am from Lyon, and of course, charcuterie and pork is royal in Lyon. And I choose a pork belly to do the dish. And of course, with this pork belly, I also want to put lentils, which has been cooked sous vide as well. And I think the technology of cooking the lentil and the pork belly, it's, I would say, ancestral. We all know how to cook lentil and pork belly without sous vide, but with sous vide, you come to a precision, to a consistency, and to also a texture and taste that is very unique. And with me will be joining me the Chief Strategy Officer at Cuisine Solutions and Corporate Chef, Gérard Berthelon. Gérard and I, we go, thank you Gérard for joining me for making this recipe. And Gérard and I, we go back to the early 80s when we both arrived in Washington, D.C.
1982.
Exactly. And we were both young, very young chefs, but at the same time, we both had dream. And what Gérard and Cuisine Solutions and Crea have accomplished in the last 30 years is mind-blowing for not only our industry and the evolution of it here in America for the cuisine, but also for the creativity you brought and the technology you developed with that.
And working with chefs and helping their team to refine the technology. Clearly, the technology 30 years ago and today, we had a huge evolution and we really refine it. And working with chefs, we learn from them, they learn from us. So it's a great partnership. More and more, you bring technology to the kitchen to deliver the best experience for your customer.
Absolutely. And what's incredible is that not only on the savory side, like today we choose two products that are also available in the things you prepare, but I see today in pastries, in so many other applications that at the beginning was maybe geared to be pretty standard and classic, today has expanded to so many different...
And even to cocktail, you use
exactly.
mixologists to make some cocktails sous vide. And
very much.
So there is so much opportunity and way to use sous vide.
It's endless. And I'm sure that today we're going to entertain everybody by doing a very traditional dishes, because I grew up in Lyon on a farm. I was not by the sea, and we were raising our own pig at the farm, and we were making our own charcuterie, and pork belly was something we had every morning on the table. And I remember my father, my grandmother, my mother, they will man the work in the morning very early, and then around 8 o'clock in the morning sit down and have a proper breakfast. And part of the proper breakfast was the slab of pork belly on the table, and we'll slice that, and either you saute in a pan and crisp it a bit, or you just have it cold, and sometime with a lentil salad as well. And that's why I think today the connection with the lentil and the pork belly, it take me back to my youth.
Two staples of Lyon.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Use it in so many different ways.
It's true, because lentil it's also used a lot in like the bouchon and the bistrot, where they do salade lyonnaise. I love
chaud,
exactly with the cervelas aux lentilles. Cervelas is a sausage made mostly with pork belly as well. It's almost some of them are made 100% with pork belly, and it has truffle and pistachio inside. With lentil. And what I like with the lentil is always some acidity, and especially with the pork belly. We're going to do a sauce that has a little bit of vinegar and demi-glace as well, and mustard, because you want also that acidity. So it's very classic French, but you can be very creative with the lentil. If you want to do a mole sauce with your pork belly and lentil, you can do a mole sauce as well.
Correct. And the lentil are so healthy.
Yeah.
And growing in
It's
a
true.
volcano and
absolutely. And in France we grow lentil, but I think in many parts of the world, of course, we grow lentil. I mean, in Indian cuisine, lentil is a big staple.
Yeah, the dal.
Absolutely. And these are just the portion I will need to prepare the recipe. But I'm sure you have that in bags of. And so, what is the process you like to apply for
so the
cooking
great thing
lentil?
compared to cooking lentil in the pan, you have a tendency maybe they stick to the bottom, or there's more evaporation, they might dry out. Here you put the lentil in a bag, you put the right stock, the right seasoning, and when the lentil absorb all the moisture, your lentil are perfectly cooked. So if you want them a little bit more tender, you add more liquid. If you want them more al dente, you put less liquid. But the chefs are able to, every single time, get the same consistency in the lentils. And that's, even so it looks like a simple item, it's hard to duplicate every single day when you cook lentils. So sous-vide for all the grain, not just, people are focusing always on protein, but all the grain from rice to chickpeas to, it's a great way to cook all grains.
Absolutely.
Sweet. You can really control the consistency.
And you almost keep the nuttiness of the lentil into it, versus when the lentils start to break up, then you kind of lose that texture that is part of the lentil. Yeah, exactly. So for that dish, it's gonna be, of course, the pork belly have been already cooked. And how long did that pork belly cook? At least
40 hours.
It's amazing. It's at 55 degrees right now, but it's moist, it's beautiful. We see the skin side, the little fattier side, and the lean side. And to me, there's nothing better than a good slab of pork belly on the top of a bed of lentils.
When you cook in the kitchen, you smell everything. You're like, oh, when you look, it's great, but all this flavor is like a perfume, they evaporate. Here, when you sear it, you enhance all the flavor. So if you were to cook the pork belly regularly, you'll see this pork belly has so much more flavors, and it's concentration in
very much. And also, you have to often a pork belly, you will have to cure it, and you have to desalt it, and then you have to poach it, and you lose a little bit of the seasoning. Here, the precision of the seasoning is you don't have to over cure it in order to keep it well seasoned.
Keeping their own juice.
So there's boiling water. So the first step we're gonna take to make this recipe is to do a parsley puree. I love the taste of parsley, and of course you can do a parsley salad, but you take a bowl of parsley, nice and clean, and you blanch it in salted water, boiling salted water. You blanch it, you cook it actually for a few minutes.
And using the flat one, it has more flavor than the curly parsley.
Exactly, but curly could do well as well. Either way, but I like Italian parsley for that. And so that's gonna cook for a few minutes. And then we're gonna blend it with some actually beurre noisette. So that's a nice flavor, which beurre noisette is more of a cooked butter to the point where it's all the elements are turning into a golden.
You bring the Maillard reaction to bring the nutty flavors.
Yes, and I know that watching us, there is many chefs watching us, but there's also some home cook.
Yes.
So that's
for sure
exciting, and I think all of you home cook, I'm sure you're a pretty good cook to begin with. So
the last 5 years, sous-vide at home has been a huge growth. A lot of food enthusiasts have been grabbing this technology. So
very much, absolutely, and I think everybody at home have a little circulator like that. And so tell me a little bit about the circulator and
Well, the good thing, the circulator used to be $1,500 to $2,000, but now you can find some at a couple $100 on the market. They are connected to your iPhone. A lot of recipes are already preset in it. Here we're using a polyscience, so it's more like for professional. Mm-hmm. So if you cook a lot, it's better to have something like that so you can running like so many hours a day. But if you cook it at home and you're going to use it like once a week, then you can grab one who has a couple $100. So you need little investment to start cooking at home sous vide.
Absolutely.
Right now, it's not a big investment.
Very much. And I would say also that here I just have the lentil already pre-cooked, sous vide, and that is a product from Cuisine Solutions that you prepare. It's called a Beluga Lentil.
Yeah, it's almost like caviar.
Lentil.
It's so elegant.
Oh, absolutely. It's beautiful. But when the preparation is all finished and seasoned, you can almost, and that's why sometimes the technology of sous vide has two purposes. It has the purpose of cooking slowly and long and precise for quite a while, but then after to be able to store, to chill, and to reheat, and you could almost do the preparation already made back into a bag. You seal it. Of course, you have to have a sous vide machine, and you have to have a circulator, and then you just reheat, open the bag, and serve. And
it's
that's
perfect for mise en place.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And the great advantage for home is you can spend more time with your guests instead of spending all your time in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You can have it also like that pre-ready, and you just put the final touch on it.
So
you're not here to feed your guests, just to enjoy them.
I wanted to show the beauty of these two pieces of pork belly. So that right here. So that's going to be really the core of our preparation. And I really love the thickness of that pork belly. It's beautiful.
And when you cook sous vide, the fat really enhance the meat instead of melting when you cook at a higher temperature. So you cook the fat and you nourish the meat. So it's enhance the flavor for sure.
I love it. So now I am draining the parsley and putting it into a cup. So you just have to be careful not to burn yourself. Like this. So what I like to do also, and you know, it takes about 3 minutes to cook the parsley, and I take a little bit of the cooking water inside just to have enough moisture to be able to blend that. And I also put the butter inside. Beurre noisette, a little bit of salt and pepper. Like this, and a little blender, and that should work pretty well. And that's going to be a little thick, but pretty good. You have to be very careful not to burn yourself, or so the moisture you can go gradually. Maybe I went a little fast with it, but so it's pretty thick. Then we chill it, and we put it in a plastic bottle, or you can put it in a container that you can spoon into the preparation of in the plate. Voila.
And I think with a chlorophyll like that, you can keep it for a couple of days in your fridge.
Easily. Absolutely.
There is salt to preserve it.
But you want to chill it right away because it's still warm. So
keep the color.
To keep the color fresh, absolutely.
Okay, we're going to remove a couple of items.
Yeah, get rid of the water, and now we are starting the mirepoix. So now we are finishing, we're going to start the preparation of the lentil. So you can put olive oil or butter as you wish. And to that, look Gerard, I have the mise en place done. Mise en place is everything in
like
the kitchen.
Frenchman.
Voila. So we have a little bit of olive oil and tablespoon of olive oil. And then the mirepoix is a classic term of a base vegetable. And the base vegetable are often onion, or it could be leeks or celery. Here we have onion, celery, carrots, and mushroom. And that's the base for the garnish of the lentil together.
To bring the foundation.
Yeah.
So the celery root is something we use a lot in France.
Especially during the winter. So as we are celebrating the International Sous-Vide Day in February, celery root is totally in season with that. So the mirepoix is meant to be cut in a way that it's gonna become very tender and sort of blend well with the lentil, because I like, the lentil to still remain a ragu that has a lot of. Usually, when we cook lentil, we use onion and carrots around, and a bouquet garni and celery. And so this is to mimic a little bit the base of the cuisson of the lentil, which we use. And
so it smells great.
Yeah. So to that, a little bit of salt and pepper. Of course, you don't want to oversalt your vegetable because the pork belly has been cured already. And because the lentil are already cooked, it's just a question of cooking this mirepoix to tender, and then after just add the lentil and let it stew gently, but they will be almost instantly ready by the time you add the lentil to the mirepoix. So it's fairly quick preparation.
And in a classical way, we cure the pork, then we wash it, then we cook. Here, it's sous vide it's almost in two steps. We reduce the salt, the curing. So we put the seasoning, we put it vacuum packet, and then we let it for a couple of days, curing very slowly. Then we leave it in the bag and it goes straight to cooking. So that saves a lot of time, and we can control much better the amount of curing who's going through, because it's by percentage of the weight. So the curing is always the same.
Very much. And also, if you buy fresh pork belly, a cured pork belly, it's often more pink because the salt is much more intense. And here the idea is to really have a very good taste of fresh pork belly without having the process of curing that is overdone.
Yep, that's for sure.
So it's beautiful like that, because that really become more like if you were treating a normal piece of meat rather than a fully cured. And then
you look at the color also, because it's cooked sous vide, it's not been washed by the water.
Yeah.
So the color is so much more deep.
Yeah, and meaty in a way. This beautiful lentil now joining the mirepoix and creating that base of the recipe. Like that. So after, that's not in Lyon, but because I love also the combination of a little bit of fruitiness behind the lentil. It's such a earthy dish. I put a little bit of orange inside, and so that kind of create also a little bit of a kind of a bigarade sauce with the orange like that. So we put a little bit of orange zest in the preparation. And then a little bit of orange juice as well. So we can just...
And this way, usually we cook the vegetable, then the lentil, but in the old time, most of the vegetable were, I don't want to say overcooked, but really too soft. And here you bring more freshness, because you cook the lentil one way, you cook the vegetable, so you bring some little bit more bite, and the carrot tastes like carrot, the lentil tastes like carrot, so the much more multi-level taste this way, doing this way.
Totally, and so a little bit of vinegar to it. I have a little bit of the demi-glace, which is a demi-glace you make at Cuisine Solution. And so demi-glace, it's basically a meat stock. This could be a demi-glace of pork, of veal, of beef, of chicken. What is the base mostly you use? Beef?
It is veal, but it's like what we call a mother sauce.
Yes.
It's part of the foundation of, the demi-glace. You can do a couple hundred sauce out of that. That was a classic with Escoffier, where when you're younger, we all learn all the mother sauce when you go to school, or apprenticeship like Daniel and I did.
Absolutely.
Directly young straight to the restaurant.
It's true. Hollandaise, Bernaise,
mother sauce,
bechamel.
And then you build from. It's really the foundation of cooking and French cooking.
So now I want the lentil to stew very, very gently. And I'm going to put also a little bit of cream inside, just a touch, instead of butter. Just to, I think the fat of the cream help just bring all the flavor together nicely. And to that, a little bit of mustard also. So I'm using whole grain mustard.
And it's not too far from Lyon.
No,
Dijon.
That's because, and we love sauce à la moutarde in Lyon. It's something we do calf liver with sauce à la moutarde.
Andouille.
We do andouille à la moutarde.
I think you have to be French to eat
and
andouille.
pork belly à la moutarde aussi. With your lentil stew. And then, because I'm American by now, are you American too?
Yes, many years
but
now.
very American or?
That's what my parents say. I'm more American than French now.
Okay, because I like to put a little bit of Tabasco into my lentil, just to give it a kick.
Spark up a little bit.
Spark up a little bit, a taste of Louisiana into the dish. I mean, Louisiana, after all, it was French before. So that's okay. Tabasco is kind of French. Huh?
Yeah, Napoleon sold Mississippi to the Americans.
So now for this, I really like that little stew to go very slow and gentle until it just liaise the lentil and the vegetable together, but not to over reduce it either, because I have my sauce made for the pork belly to finish the pork belly with.
The advantage of keeping your sauce sous vide is not going to reduce. If you keep it in the corner of your oven, it's not going to oxidize. So whatever chef prepares is going to be exactly the same seasoning and the same color, and it's so easy to use this way.
So now our lentils are ready to simmer gently and keep warm. So I'm going to keep them in the back here, gently, and I'm going to cook some of the veg garnish, because of course you could just enjoy the pork belly just with the lentil stew like this, but I want to add up extra vegetable, and those vegetables are nothing other than the vegetable who was in the mirepoix. I have carrots, I have mushroom, and I have onion. I don't have the celery because I'm going to use celery chips on top.
To bring some crunchiness to the
Exactly, but here is just to bring a little bit of vegetable meatiness to it, and also a cuisson that is a little different than the mirepoix. So you have a little bit more freshness of the vegetable here with that. So very simple again. And I like to use olive oil with this preparation, but I mean, you're welcome to use butter, or you can even use lard, which is the pork fat. But I think pork belly has by nature enough fat,
yeah.
that it's good to keep it on the lean side for that preparation. So this is very simple. We have some onion, we are putting some carrots and a couple of mushrooms. Some of them are small enough that, I can. And so I'm using champignon de Paris. Of course, you can use any other mushroom, but in my farm, we used to go in the field and pick up those kind of mushroom in the field, or
Rose.
Yes, les roses des prés.
Rose des prés.
Or otherwise, I will say that
Chanterelles.
Champignon de Paris, for me, is the most affordable and versatile mushroom you can play with. And when I cook a simple, humble dish such as a pork belly, I think I don't need to give it
food.
Comfort food. Don't need morel or chanterelle or porcini, things like that. I think comfort food needs just good, basic, simple ingredient. Voila, so this is good. So the mushroom, a little bit of seasoning, a little bit of sage also to that, a little branch of sage, parce que, you know, my mother, everything she cook, she always put a branch of sage, because there is a say in French who say that if you put sage in your dish, it will keep the doctor away. Oh yeah, no,
we all need it.
Exactly. It's very healthy to cook with sage. So I recommend that you put plenty of sage.
And most people have like a bushel of sage and and rosemary.
Thyme and rosemary.
My mom has one. When I'm home, I just go in the garden and cut it. And they even have a bay leaf tree. I mean, we get everything from the farm.
Right. Absolutely. So this we're gonna roast them gently. And we're going to deglaze them with a little bit of orange juice to keep the theme a little bit of the orange. And you can, if you want, put butter to glaze them at the end, or a little bit more olive oil.
But we're from Lyon, so...
Yeah, we'll put butter at the end. I'm trying to keep everybody healthy, but frankly, when it comes to me, I'm just fine with my butter.
Well, so it's better to put the butter and eat less.
Yes.
And really enjoy.
So tell me, Gérard, about you, because I mean, I knew about sous-vide, but I really learned, not only myself, but so many of my chefs have learned about sous-vide through you and through the fact that you are now been involved with Cuisine Solutions and Créa for what, 30 years?
32 years.
32 years. And what's fantastic is that because you are first and foremost a chef,
yes,
and you choose also to take the road of evolution in technology and how to help chefs to become more knowledgeable about the possibility of sous vides and all that. And how did you come about to go and start at Cuisine Solutions?
So then I saw all our mentors, you know, like Joël Robuchon, like Michel Guérard. You work at Michel Guérard. They were doing sous vide. So yes. When I saw that, I said, well, if they're doing it for a reason. It's not to save on labor or anything. It's just to get a better product.
Of course.
So when I was a chef in New York, not far from here in Rye, I said, I need to learn sous vide. I'll come, and Cuisine Solutions was looking for a chef to develop the recipe.
Right.
I said, I'm going to join them for a year, and I'll come back to New York and be a better chef. And 32 years later, I'm still there and having fun. And then the good thing, because we know so many chefs, we train them, we want to make sure they have the right technology. And since we involve always the evolution of sous vide, we always share some of our findings. The way we cooked 30 years ago and the way we cook today is completely different.
Completely. I mean, I learned sous vide the first time through in the 70s with Parsley, that all the chefs in France were looking at this guy who sort of created sous vide. It was not what it is today, but at least there was this idea of being able to encase in a vacuum pack, a sealed bag, the food and cook it slowly.
Yeah, he worked with trois gros on a foie gras.
Very much, exactly.
And Bruno, as a scientist, because Georges was cooking many more things at a higher temperature.
Georges Pranu, yeah.
He didn't know too much about bacteria, and Bruno came out with a science, said, well, we can do it at much lower temperature, and it's going to be better moisture, better. We don't need to cook at such a high temperature.
Absolutely, and Bruno Gousseau is the brain behind sous vide, because he is more a scientist than a chef, but is the most respected person by the chef when it comes to the science of sous vide, because he's our guru.
and the good thing that Bruno did, you know, like most of the canning or something was 100% created in a science lab. Bruno went to work with a chef, and like Joël Robuchon, and say, well, show me what is a perfect rack of lamb. And then Joël cooked the rack of lamb. Bruno took the temperature, look at it, it's like, okay, it's 58 Celsius. Then go back to the lab and try to duplicate what the chef were doing. Because even
with all the safety step
Yes,
to
he wanted to
respect.
learn from the best chef and just try to duplicate what they did. So it's really a partnership between chef and scientists where this technology is today.
And the technology keep evolving, and the argument of the curve of time and temperature keep sometime evolving. And I think in your research you were telling me lately that now you apply also very higher temperature and then reduce to lower temperature.
Yeah, we used to cook low, bring to a temperature, hold it. But right now, if you look at what you do in your kitchen, all your teams, you put in a pan, you put a heavy searing, you crisp it up the outside, and at the same time, you destroy the outside bacteria.
Right.
Then you put in the oven, or you put in a slow in the corner. So that's what we do. We start with a high step, and then we drop it to a core temperature and to have the right texture, the right color.
Right.
And depending on the amount of connective tissue, we can hold it from 1 hour to our short rib. We cook 72 hours,
That's amazing.
depending of the amount of connective tissue in each muscles.
Of course.
So
And-
the technology, we really refined it.
And today there is more and more books on sous vide, including our dear friend Thomas Keller,
Yes.
who did an amazing book on sous vide. But there is more.
Yeah, it's really a
publications.
reference on.
Yeah.
I would say that's why I recommend all the time. I said if you have one book to buy,
Very much.
buy Under Pressure from
And
Thomas
also,
Keller.
I mean, there was his own interpretation and creativity around the process of sous vide, but he's using a lot of information from you to apply those.
Yes,
those
we
ideas.
trained the team at Puree, at French Laundry. We had a long relationship with Thomas for sure.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. But Thomas always enjoy learning from the French, so.
Well, I think he worked under you in the past, am I right?
Yeah, no. When I arrived in the early 80s in New York City, I arrived in late 82 and 83, 84, we worked together at the Polo Lounge at the Westbury Hotel.
Westbury,
Right?
I remember that.
5 blocks north of here in New York City. And Thomas was chef de partie then, and I was the executive sous chef. So that was the only time in my life that Thomas could work under me.
It's nice to brag about it.
Yeah, no, exactly. So anyway, as we said with Gerard, we're gonna put a little bit of butter inside too. I put a little bit of water to go with the orange juice, and I'm gonna let this simmer while we're gonna sear the pork. So I'm gonna put that on the back. Simmer. We have a lentil ragu ready. We have our vegetable garnish ready. We just need to sear the pork belly. So to start that, nice spoon of olive oil. And I'm using a non-stick, which I think is a little bit more practical. And I'm gonna start on the skin side here. Look how beautiful they are. And while this is roasting, we can have the plate. And we're gonna finish, like I said, with the puree of parsley, which I put in a small bottle here. So that's already chilled. And then I kept also some fresh parsley for the garnish on top. I have a little bit of pickled onion, so you can make your own, or you can take a little bit of the small pickled onion. And celery chips to bring back the celery as well. So of course the pickled onion is also to bring back the vinegar kind of side
Acidity
to
to
it.
counterpart
Absolutely.
the fat in the pork.
Are you in charge of the pork belly, Gerard?
I'm keeping an eye on it.
Okay, good. Now it's look, it's taking a nice little color, and we're gonna do that on all sides, and it's gonna be moist inside and nice and crispy on the outside. Then we'll make the sauce behind with the pan, because there's gonna be always some dripping of
Some sucre.
flavor,
At the bottom.
absolutely,
Can
into that. We just want to make sure the pan is not too hot. So this is gentle process. How many? What other part of the pork do you do sous vide?
So one part I like to do is the collier, the collard.
Yeah, the collar.
So the collard is almost
top shoulder.
is almost like a prime rib. The fat is all the way is beautiful marbling. I like pork shank.
Right.
You know, all those long.
So
cooking.
we call that échine in French. Collar. Yeah.
The collier. And so some of the part, everything with who has take a long time to cook.
Right.
Sous-vide make all the white meat also is great. Chicken, pork.
Right.
We have a tendency to dry out. Sous-vide is amazing.
I know it's the best
People
for
are
that.
focusing on steak, but white meat is clearly a huge advantage to use this technique for sure.
Very much, and even fish also, for that matter.
Yeah, the fatty fish, the lean fish have a tendency to become slightly cottony.
Right.
So you want to work with halibut, with
Right.
salmon. So the fat has bring and keep the nice texture to it.
Very much.
If you take lemon sole or something like that, it's
lean
I'm
fish
not, I'm
is
not
not so
too
good.
crazy. Even swordfish, I'm not big on cooking swordfish.
Look at that. Beautiful. And the top is crisp. Okay, so to that, we have the lentil ragu, which is ready, already has the mustard and everything in it. And I'm gonna pick up some of the vegetable also. Nice.
So here you're getting a beautiful Maya reaction. It's like those French croissant or French bread. That's really what brings the flavor to
I love it.
to the dish.
And of course, it renders a little bit of fat, but that's why you want enough oil to be able to, or you can use clarified butter, or as I said, you know, lardo. But that's perfect like this. So let me bring also the pot of vegetable here. Voila, so they gently braised with a little bit of the orange juice and the sage. And so we have that here. We have our lentils. We're getting ready. So I'm gonna add some parsley to the lentil, this one. It's parsley is playing a big role in this preparation because you want as much flavor of freshness of parsley to that, and I think it definitely bring the
Freshness to the dish.
a little
With
bit
the
of
bite in it.
And of course, if you're cooking for a big family, I recommend that you take a large platter and you arrange all you arrange all your lentil in it and the different vegetable.
And this dish is perfect to prep in a little bit in advance and just put on the table.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna stop now, because definitely the pork belly was warm by being already at 55 degrees. And what you don't want is to dry the pork belly, but just crisp it on the outside.
Yes. And as you know, Daniel is French. When he says 55, he's talking about Celsius. And it's about 132 Fahrenheit.
So a little bit of onion,
Onion grelot.
grelot, a little bit of mushroom. So that I love this, and you can use also scallion if you don't have onion. That's fine. Yeah, we'll put one more carrots here, and then a nice slice of pork belly. Like that. So that's now part of the preparation. I have I'll put Let me put this extra piece here on the rack.
Fat.
I'm gonna take the fat away. and we're going to finish the sauce quickly. That's the step you can do ahead or you can do at the last minute. And for that, I have all my elements to finish the sauce. So that's going to start with a little deglaze of vinegar into the pan. And I add to that a little bit of the demi-glace. Yeah, thank you. And so the demi-glace reduced slightly. We put the cream without reducing too much. A little bit of the mustard and stop the fire. Once you have the vinegar evaporated, that's good. The mustard inside. So this is like a true Lyonnais sauce moutarde. A little bit of that, a touch of butter in it. I'm going to put a touch of water. And my pinch of Tabasco.
Yeah.
Which,
your American touch.
Yeah, my American touch in it. Voila, so the sauce is fairly easy to make and fairly fast because of the fact that we have the demi-glace already ready. And so we have the vegetable, the lentil with the demi-glace inside. So the concentration of that sauce is already inside the lentil. And this is just to finish, the dish with. Merci, super. So of course you want to also put a little bit of sauce on the lentil. And after, a couple of parsley leaves on it. So the parsley don't need to be seasoned because frankly, it has plenty of seasoning around it. And this is, remember, this is a rustic Lyonnais dish. So it's not about how fancy things are, but more about how rustic and soulful the dish is. So we have the little crisp of celery with it, and we have the little pickled onion here. So a couple of pickled onion goes on top. So that can go over the pork, over the lentil, of course, like this, those little petals of onion, but also a couple over the lentils. And then finish with the puree of parsley that we had. So you choose little corner here and there to just accent the plate with a little bit of that grassiness of the parsley and herbiness. So if you want to use fine herb for that, that will be wonderful as well. Voilà, Gérard.
It looks really good.
This is the lard aux lentilles. We call it in French, which is pork belly.
That brings us back right to Lyon.
Absolutely.
We don't have to take a plane. That's beautiful.